All right, hi. My name is Charlie Berger. I'm the Senior Director of Product Management for Machine Learning here at Oracle, and I am going to be the host today for an excellent Techcast by Dan Vlamis. And I am associated with both Oracle and I'm one of the organizers along with Dan and many other volunteers who organize these analytics and data user community Techcasts every 2 weeks. And the idea here is to share technical information. We're not trying to do sales pitches. We're trying to say, hey, I know how to do something. Why don't I share it with you? And the hope is that many of you who are listening in will either volunteer to share something yourselves or maybe convince somebody else you know to do their own Techcast. So a few administrative procedures here. We're broadcasting out now, so hopefully you can all see this. We've pressed record, and all of your lines are currently set on mute to prevent background noise. At the end of the Techcast, we will take some Q&A questions. There is a Q&A feature of Zoom. We're going to ask you to use the Q&A so we can kind of keep track of the questions. Just enter them there, and probably more towards the end, although if the speaker feels comfortable, you may take some of the questions during the call. All of this is being recorded and will be available afterwards on the Analytics and Data Summit Techcast page. We'll post a PDF of the presentation, we'll post the recordings, and we also try to push it out to YouTube. So as I said, we're looking for other speakers as we go forward, but today we have a great speaker. His name is Dan Vlamis. He's the president of Vlamis Software Solutions. You may know him. He's been in the business for a while. He is very tight with many of the Oracle technologies, he and his company, and his company focuses on delivering solutions and value out of Oracle technology, so we like that. And today he's going to be talking about the new features in the Oracle Analytics Cloud 105.3.0. Afterwards, we'll have a brief Q&A, and Dan, take it away.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate the opportunity to share this all with you. And let me just go ahead and dive right into some of the material. Know that this is part of a series of Techcasts. You should see on the screen, if you go to analyticsanddatasummit.org/techcasts, you can see the entire list of these. And Charlie, if you can put that in the chat window so people can click on it, they can see the things coming up. I'll point out that the next Techcast is Kenny Gross. Is going to be talking about autonomous anomaly detection for dense sensor IoT prognostics. And you can see we also have one scheduled for August 22. We as well make the previous sessions available, video replay, and the slides available. You'll see that on that same website. We also encourage you to submit your own content, submit a topic to share on there. We'd love to have you join us on that. A little bit of background on who we are so you know who's speaking. I'm with Vlamis Software Solutions. We were founded over 25 years ago in Kansas City. We develop all sorts of Oracle business analytics systems, and we work especially in the area of enterprise business intelligence and analytics, something we call analytic warehousing, data mining and predictive analytics, and data visualization. We're also gold partners specialized in Oracle Business Analytics, the cloud platform. We're also, you'll find on our website, Vlamis.com, you'll find years worth, actually over a decade worth of presentations on these types of topics. We're also co-authors of the book on data visualization for Oracle Business Intelligence 11G, and we're creators of the force-directed graph plugin. You'll find that in the Oracle Analytics library. Indeed, we'll have a chance hopefully to show that just as a quick peek on that. We're also an Oracle University partner on this. This is in a series of webcasts. We've been doing this for coming up on a decade of all the Oracle BI releases. All this you'll find at Vlamis.com/OBI webinars. And we're now, and by the way, if some of this is a little too in-depth on specific new features, that's the purpose of this series of webcasts, is to show the new features in each release. This is not intended to be an exhaustive, this is what Oracle Analytics Cloud is. But I will point you to, if this is too much in depth on specific features, we do have an intro to OAC running on Autonomous Data Warehouse for March 6th. And that goes through more of the general features of ADW and features of OAC on that. So I'd point that to you. And then we do each of the releases when they come out. We're now up to new features in OAC 105.3. On this webcast, this release rolled about a month or two ago in getting this out to the Oracle community. You can ask chat questions. If you click on the chat button or the Q&A button, you can ask questions, and you can find the list of all these webinars on our website at vlamis.com/OBI webinars. With that, let's jump into the content for today. This is material, actually, we collaborate with the folks in Oracle Product Management on what the new features are, and then try and present this to the Oracle community. So there's 4 major areas in this release. You will find with this release, Oracle has gone to a cadence of releasing new features really every quarter, and in some cases, literally every month. As a result, you won't find in this specific release tons of new features because they're literally rolling them out on the cloud every month. But this is the areas. We'll talk about the admin area as part of OCI, the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. There are some new data source enhancements. We'll talk about that. There are new areas, new features in the area of data visualization. Every release, we get new additional capabilities or new visualization that are join the product. The big one here is the natural language narrative visualization, and we'll show. And then there's also some features in BI Publisher. That's a part of the Oracle Analytics family. And the ones highlighted in green are ones that we'll be able to, hopefully, if the demo gods are with us, we'll be able to demonstrate those live in this webinar. So with that, let me dive into each one of these. One of the capabilities now, we finally have, yay, the ability on a Oracle managed OAC instance on the OCI service. We have the ability to start and stop and scale those services directly in the software. So now the new feature is the ability to start and stop. This is actually in some ways outside of OAC itself. It's where you manage all of your instances. This is what it looks like. You can click on start and stop of these instances. The other thing, for those that are familiar with the OBI, Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, OBI-EE cycle time, starting and stopping on the OAC service on the Oracle Cloud is much, much faster because it actually doesn't technically stop stuff. It actually just suspends it, if you will. And so you'll find it just removes your ability to access the service. And the big reason you do this is to obviously stop the billing on this. If you know you're not going to use it, you can stop it, and you can start it. As of yet, I'm not aware of a way to automate that process, but hopefully that'll come with some API features in some future release. We can also increase or decrease the number of OCPUs on this and scale it up and down depending on what our needs are. We also have an updated service admin console. The information has been rearranged, and there's actually some nice little graphics that allow you some buttons to see the console. We'll show that. And the big thing is we have now a drop-down list. Rather than having to memorize how you set each one of these parameters, we have tick lists that we can use for them, and the ability to, for the Boolean ones, turn them on and off, which is a nice feature for this. We'll show that in the demonstration. New to this is something called the Remote Data Gateway. And this, in effect, replaces or augments the Remote Data Connector capability that's been in many of the releases of for at least a year, maybe 2 years in OAC, the ability to reach out to an on-premise database or a database that you have access to. And now that's done with a pair of keys that you use. So it's a secure way of reaching through to other data. You should know that Oracle is basically saying that this remote data gateway is going to functionally replace the remote data connector as we go forward. So get used to this new way of doing things. It's pretty nice once you set it up, and makes for a very secure way to get there. There are connections directly for the Oracle database, DB2, Teradata, and SQL Server. The RDC method allows you to access data in for other connectors as well. And of course, any of this, for those that have used the product, there's lots of ways to get at cloud sources. This is a way to have a secure connection. You have to turn this on with this enabled data gateway for these types of connections. And that makes it so you can access all sorts of on-premise databases through firewalls, that type of thing. We have a couple new data sources that are supported. One is for accessing Teradata databases using the RDC method, and you'll see there's a checkbox added now to use Remote Data Connector for Teradata, and as well for Amazon Redshift, you can enable SSL for Redshift. These are little enhancements, if you will. Sometimes for some people, these are huge things. Maybe that's what they've been waiting for. Some cases, it's just a nice to have. For S-based sources, we have the ability now to add an alias table. So that's especially effective for handling multiple languages within S-base. So I have my product names in different types of different languages. I can access those directly and get at multiple alias tables. Then that allows you to view those aliases within the data visualization portion of the product. The new visualization in this release is the natural language, the language narrative visualization. And that will take your data and try to make sense out of it, and actually is presenting language. All of this is computer generated, and it is presenting that type of information, so you have a narrative. One of the advantages, by the way, as an implementer of this, is you get a consistent narrative rather than people typing this in, and because it's computer generated, you don't have to worry about updating this every month to try and update what the 3 product categories here, when taken together, 3 product categories amount to a total value of 1.3 million. You know, that type of thing is computer generated, so you don't have to manually create these. So obviously with the computer generated, sometimes that's what you want to highlight, sometimes it's not, but it's a way you can do it without having to worry about somebody being biased one way or the other. You can determine the level of detail all the way from 1 to 7. You have to kind of play with this to see what level of detail, how much text do you want, and you can switch that between a trend or breakdown analysis on this. So it's a welcome addition to the types of visualizations. In the area of pivot tables, we have the ability to click, a single click to sort on data. We'll show you an example of that and what that looks like. You can colorize your totals differently. We'll show that as well. And you can edit that. This extends an ability that we added, I think, last release in 105.2 or 105.1, I can't remember which. We had the ability to pick individual data points and colorize those. So that's very nice. And as we switch to pivot tables, you can turn on and off the tooltip area. We'll show that in the demo as well. When you move from a table to a pivot table, now the metrics, the measures, actually go into a smarter place. Oracle is putting those in the values area, so you don't have to manually drag those over as you switch between pivot table and table. The metrics move with all of the other grammar-related fields. In terms of visualization enhancements, we have the ability to turn on and off the tooltips. You'll find that that really turns on and off not just the tooltips, but really the dimension information, the attribute information for a given tooltip. That's what that turns on and off on here. The metrics are always shown, and we'll show that hopefully in the demo if we have time. There's for a while we had the ETS forecast method, and we lost it when Oracle had to make a change to the software. It's back now, coded, so that's nice that we have the error, trend, and seasonal type of algorithm that we can change between seasonal ARIMA, and ETS. And that's also in the forecast. This is behind the scenes what it's doing when you right-click and say, I want to run a forecast. It's actually creating a measure behind the scenes. You can see the syntax for that. We now have model type equals ETS. We also can edit canvases and change that without having to navigate to them. It's a little thing, but it's just nice to be able to right-click on that. Hopefully we'll have a chance to show that. You can edit the properties of a canvas by just right-clicking and renaming. You can also turn on and off the brushing behavior. I'm sure it's kind of one of those, I'm not sure why you'd want to turn it off, but I'm sure some customer had to have this turned off, and so Oracle added that as a feature. That's the type of thing we're finding in these releases. As the product line matures, they're adding little things that is like, yeah, that would be good to be able to turn that off. And it's a little button down at the bottom. We'll show that in the demonstration to be able to turn on and off the brushing behavior. In BI Publisher, there's the ability to enable audit logging, and you can see what a sample audit report looks like. So you can turn on the monitoring and the audit flag, and you can set the level of this. This is an example showing this at medium level, and you can, create something like a JNDI data source, with this, and then you can also restrict access to that audit log, because you may not want everybody to do it. You can, with the security method, you can change who has access to that. Here's an example of what that audit report looks like. For people that are using BI Publisher, this can be huge to be able to keep track of what people are doing, how long did this take, that type of thing within the OAC platform. So with that, that kind of runs through the features. Let me show some of this live for you so you can see it in action. This is the homepage in here for this. This is what the homepage for OAC looks like. I've logged into an instance on this. And if I go in and show in the console area, I told you I'd show that. This is what that looks like for the console. Let me go ahead and make that full screen so you can see it a little better. Now we have the little graphics that show their big buttons that allow you to get at the various settings within here. Really, all of this, none of this has changed. If you go back to prior webcasts, you'll see some of the changes that happened in some of these areas to add extensions and such. But in system settings now, within here, we have the ability, you'll notice it's not just type in each one of these yes or no. You can turn these things on and off. You have toolbar tips. You can turn these on and off, and you have drop downs for some of these answers criteria for the answers results. What tab do you want to start out? And we have the ability to search in here. If I type in here something that I want to be able to look at, like level, and click on the search button, it will then take me to the areas that have to do with level. And you'll see that we have, for instance, with evaluate sort level, and if the little tip tells you what the API call is for that, and you can select 0, 1, or 2. Now, what it doesn't do, it does not tell you what 0, 1, and 2 mean, but at least it gives you a tip which specifies whether the database functions evaluate can be issued by users. 0 means turns it off, 2 means everybody can do it, and 1 is admin only. If you want to know what that is, by the way, what those settings are, you can come in here, and it's in the help. I'll show you how I get some of this information. I look at the what's new for OAC and look at these, and within that, let me just come in and one second, I get the right tab here. All right, so you can come in here and look at the different features. This is where all this comes from. In service management, you can change things, all this type of stuff. And you can also find the configure advanced options, and within that help, it tells you each one of these what the evaluate support level is. 1 means service administrations only. This is all basically from the help looking at stuff. So that's what that looks like. All right, so let's go back in here. By the way, I'll just a tip, if you change this, make sure you change it back because it is sticky. It tells you restart is required. Here's your restart button to restart the service. You don't have to go out, but make sure you change it back because it is a sticky setting. And it doesn't save the prior state for that. All right, so with that, let me show you some of the stuff within the projects that changed. I'm going to just bring up, rather than building this in front of you in the interest of time, I'm going to show you what I've done in here, and I've built a project to show this for some of these features. So within the trend graph, you probably have seen this. You can, click on these, and it will highlight the other visualizations, office supplies in here. And we can now, within the pivot table, I said we can manage the colors. So if I come in here and this 500,000 sounds really high, I can right click on that, specify a color for that data point, and change that. I can also reset those, reset the visualization colors, or come in here and manage the color assignments for here and remove that specific data point. Okay? And then in this case, I have clicked on the total, and I can color that data point for those totals and change how I want that to be colorized. One of the things I found, by the way, click on these, and then you can recolor these, and it gives you a nice palette for all the colors you've used. As you can see, I've been playing with the various blues, and I can change the colors on those totals. I also have the ability to sort things. So for instance, perhaps I want to sort my furniture, office supplies, and technology, the product category of those. I can sort those descending or ascending with those little elevator buttons on here. Be able to change that. I can do the same if I want to sort all of my quarters. It's kind of a strange thing to do, by office supplies descending, or based on the total, or for that matter, put them back into ascending order by clicking on ship date quarter. Something like that. So then for each one of these, by the way, a little tip, you can change the number of decimal places that show on here. This always drives me nuts. I want to actually switch this back to 0 decimal places when we're looking at numbers that big, that type of thing. You can also add a tooltip for here. And so right now, as I hover over, you can see what we're looking at. If I drag something like quantity in here, or profit, I can drag that to the tooltip area, and now when I hover over this number, you'll see profit, and it'll tell me what the profit is because I added profit. And so now we have a place in the grammar to add a tooltip for pivot tables. And I can go in here, by the way, if I go to the graph, you can see if I add profit to the tooltip for graph, for this graph, when I hover over, there's the profit showing, so I can have that. And if I turn off the tooltips, it's over in here, turn off the tooltips, when I hover over a value, now only the tooltip value appears. It's kind of a little bit counterintuitive. You turn off the tooltip to turn off the ability for the other information to be in the tooltip. That's what it's really controlling. Either way, you get the information that's in the tooltip area. If we look at the natural language area, and all I did, by the way, to do that, I'm going to just right-click. By the way, if you didn't see this, this is now the ability to duplicate a visualization is under Edit. That's in the prior release. But if I duplicate this visualization and simply change this type of visualization to natural language, this is where it is, language narrative, I get the same information that I have in this pivot table. It generates the natural language information automatically for that. This makes it so you don't have to necessarily just use the explain feature. This is using kind of the same area as what they're doing with explain, except it makes it so that you can put it on a canvas yourself and not have to go through explain to get that information. I'm going to go ahead and delete that visualization and show you in here the one that I already have built in here. That's all I did to create that. Then I can come in, and for that visualization, I can change the level of detail for that. Perhaps I don't want all of this. I change it to a 5 or change it to a 3, something like that, and you'll see it really compresses as a 3. And it's generating all that information. You can do trend or breakdown information for each one of these. One of the things I'll also show that I ran into, if you try and drag another measure in here, just be aware there are some limitations in the language narrative for now. It works with 2 attributes and a measure, or 2 measures and an attribute. And I'm expecting we'll see more examples, and this will be enhanced in future releases for this. So just be aware of that as you go through. If I then, if we look at the brushing behavior, for instance, I talked about that. If I click on this green, it's going to highlight where that data point is, or if I click on office supplies, it'll do the entire column. If I want to turn off some of that features, notice now when I come into office supplies, it does not highlight the office supplies within here. That's turning on and off this brushing behavior for that. You can do that, I believe, at the project level as well as on the individual canvas level. Then if I go and show the ETS forecasting capability, here I've got a forecast that has been generated. If we go to the analytics, this is just looking at daily sales, sales by ship date, and everything, you may not be able to see it on your screen depending on what you're looking at, but everything in this gray area is a forecast going into the future in here. If I click on the analytics tab, you can see this is set to forecast the next 50 days. If I change that to seasonal ARIMA, you'll see it reruns the forecast, and now this is what the ARIMA model would look like versus looking at something like an error trend seasonal model. You can see there's a significant difference. So we now have the ability to do that. If I'm looking at another, I'll show you another type of visualization. You can add this in your into your project. This is an example of a custom visualization we've created called the force-directed graph. I can expand and contract each one of these. If I expand furniture, for instance, you can see what product categories are made up into grouped subcategories. Then product containers within that, that's where we are here. And then I can expand one of these to include the individual product names. This can be dragged around, that type of thing, get them out of the way. Any of the ones with red mean they're locked in. The other guys float around because of the forces that occur on that. Now, if I'm on this and I want to rename this, one of the things you'll find when you implement using the data visualization area is sometimes the canvases get too long. So if I right-click this and click on rename, notice I didn't have to go to that canvas, but now I can just change this to P-table, totals, and NLG. All right, and so now that gives me more room to put more of these canvas names going across, and you'll find that that space becomes at a premium. It'll scroll across, but then you can only look at so many canvas names at once. So it's nice to be able to change some of the properties of these things and look at the canvas properties without having to go to, you're working on something else, you don't have to go someplace else to look at these things. All right, so I wanted to show a couple other things while I have you. Be aware that there is a very cool release, and we're actually looking at scheduling this soon on something called Spatial Studio that's coming out. Just a quick thing, this is just a screen grab of a video that they show. The storyline here is the hurricane went through, here's the hurricane path, and using Spatial Studio, we were able to calculate within a corridor of a line of where the forecast of where the hurricane is going, which properties were going to be affected by that, and that's a insurance amount, in this case of $90 million. It's a nice combination of what you can do with the spatial capabilities in the database now with a nice front end, along with analytics in OAC to actually do the calculation of what those points are. There's demos of that available. We'll work on getting that into a future webcast. So just quick preview of that that you can see. That's one thing I wanted to show. That's available. Whoops, I'm gonna turn this off. Okay, so with that, I'm kind of running out of time here within my time slot. That's the information I especially wanted to be able to demonstrate to you. Couple things in here. If you want to be able to see some of these additional visualizations, people ask me this at times, and I want to be able to get this across. There are some additional visualizations. You are not limited to what comes with the product. There are extra ones like this presentation variable prompts that allows you to find out how your presentation variables are set. This data visualization governance allows you to find out what visualizations use which measures, use which subject areas, that type of thing. And then our own force-directed graph plugin is available on this Oracle Analytics library as well. If you just Google Oracle Analytics library, you'll get that, or I have links at the end of the presentation for that. Now, one quick invite. This is coming together very quickly. We have a reception taking place at Oracle OpenWorld. If you're taking part in Oracle OpenWorld and want to come and share a beer with us, we'll have a reception on Tuesday, September 17th. It's an open invitation. You can go to this URL, bit.ly, and get an invitation to that event. You will need to have the event there. We have heavy hors d'oeuvres at the Ula restaurant. We'd love to have you join us during that reception. That's kind of where all the analytics people are hanging out on Tuesday evening. So join us for that reception. We'll send an email to you regarding this as well, but that way you all know what's coming up. We also have a quick plug for our conference, Analytics and Data Summit. It takes place in February 25 through 27. It's taking place at the Oracle campus in Santa Clara, California. Would love to see you. We've been doing this for years now. It's kind of, if this type of content is what you want to see, come to this conference. There are about 100 sessions that take place over a 3-day period. It is where you learn all about the analytics and business intelligence, and then the spatial people turn out in droves of great presentations on what they do with spatial at that conference. At this point, I'm going to open things up for questions. I have some URLs here that may help you. I tried to put that in the chat so you can click on them and take them with you. I'll also highlight one that recently, if you want to just get started with this, I recently put out a blog article on getting started with Oracle Analytics, and there's all sorts of resources of training, free training used from Udemy on how to get started with this. All that's in this blog article that for everybody that wants to get started. With that, I'm going to take a look and see what we have in questions. If we don't have any, then I'll start wrapping things up. Charlie, anything else that I'm missing that we should highlight?
No, I think it was well done. I don't see any questions on the Q&A thing. So if you have any questions, please submit them. Or I think at this point, I think you can ask them. No, actually, we don't do that. We just have to type them to the Q&A. I think it's the way that works.
I do see one question that came in, Charlie. Will you email this information to attendees? And yes, we can send that off to everybody that came out. We can send that off to you.
Well, what we also do is, I mean, Dan, the speaker has access and can follow up with you directly, but what we also do is we post the slides. And Dan, do you have it open? You can just go to that page. We'll post the recording on the same page that you went to register, and so you can watch it again live, and we'll post the slides there as well. So I did one a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago, that's out there as well. We're building up a whole library of these things. And I guess while I'm talking, it would really be good if any of you think you have something cool to share, any tips or tricks, any cleverness, anywhere across the whole spectrum of analytics, data, spatial, machine learning. We'd love to have you share that, because that's what this is all about. It's not meant to be sales pitches. It's meant to be, hey, how did you do that? I want to try and do the same thing, and that's really the whole mission here. Yeah, just right there.
So this is the site for the Techcasts. You'll see the ones coming up. This is where you click to submit an abstract if there's information you think in these areas you'd like to share with people. And we're obviously on this 25th, July 25th, and you can see the other ones coming up. This is where you register for the new ones. And down here, you'll see where the slides are going to be, and that's where you can grab the PDF. At the end here, we'll add a new line down here for this Techcast. You can get that information. And if you want to replay it, you can come to this video replay area and watch that for people that may have missed it.
Dan, if you could just move it up a little bit, I'll kind of close it out and point to the next 2 weeks from now. We'll have Kenny Gross He's an AI architect. He's been around for a long time, knows a lot of stuff. He's actually out of Oracle Labs, so he's going to be presenting some of the work and some of the work he's been working on with autonomous anomaly detection for dense sensor, IoT, Internet of Things prognostics. So that's kind of cool, as are the upcoming ones that are in this calendar. We're always going to show 2, 3, or 4 Techcasts ahead. We're not going to, show 6 months ahead. So just come here. You'll see what's on the calendar. You can register and come back and see these either live or on demand. With that, I think, Dan, unless you have anything else, we can close it out. I'll stop recording. This whole Techcast will be posted. Dan, anything else?
I think that's it. Charlie, thanks for hosting. Appreciate you taking care of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and we'll talk to you all with the next Techcast. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for attending. Take care. Bye.